What's going on, everybody? This is Henry. We're talking about how to buy your first rental property, and we're going to treat it just like classes in session. So this is Investing 101. Let's dive right in. So in today's video, again, we're going to be talking about exactly how to buy your first investment property in the next 90 days or less. Yes, you heard me. 90 days or less. It does not have to be that difficult. And the best part is you don't even need to have any money. It could be $0 out of your own pocket. So let's dive in. First and foremost, you need a game plan. You can't just go into this saying, I'm going to buy my first investment property, then poof, it all of a sudden happens. No, you're going to have to come up with a simple game plan. So here's the coolest part. You already came up with one of the parts, which is the by when. Right? 90 days. Let's set it up. The next 90 days, or just say by the end of this quarter, how do we buy your first rental property? So that's number one. Number two is the where. What location are you going to be specifically looking in? I personally like to look in A or B class markets. I'm not a fan of C or D class markets. I like to find nice locations, places that I would personally want to live. And this way I know that my quality of tenant is probably going to be the same. This is just what I prefer. And listen, I have a lot of investor friends who invest in C and D class markets and do unbelievably well. However, I just don't recommend it for your first rental property. Try to focus on ideally B-class markets. It probably could be the best one for you to start at, and it's also going to be not A-class prices. That's going to be about the where. Find out the location. Again, this is going to be the state, the county, the neighborhood, the street. You can even know the exact street that you want to be buying on. There are a couple towns that I'm like, man, I would really wish I could buy a property on that street. That would be unbelievable. That's how clear you want to be on location. Next is what? The what type of properties, right? So what is the property type that you're looking for? Is it a single family, a duplex, a 3-family, a 4-family, a 5, 6, 8, 10, 20, 30, 50 unit building? Like, what is it? What are you specifically looking for? What is the price point? What is the condition? Because if you don't have these what figured out, you're going to be like saying, oh, I just want to look at everything. That is not an ideal strategy. So I have some friends who just love investing in single family homes. That's not my personal strategy. However, they love it, and they've bought dozens, if not hundreds of properties at this point. But guess what? They started with one. But that was their specific strategy. Hey, I'm going to focus on single family homes at this price point, this location, this condition. This is what I'm looking for. You know how much easier it gets to find that type of niche property when you're that specific? You can set up criteria. Again, when you're that specific, that's where the magic can start to happen. Get specific. Now, we just talked about how. How has a lot to it. First, we're going to talk about the how when it comes to financing. Okay, so financing is typically the biggest thing that people get hung up on. When I bought my very first investment property, my very first one was a single family actually, a number of years ago. I bought that single family home for $155,000. And I bought it with hard money, okay? Hard money loan, which means that they did not worry about my own personal credit, my own personal history when it comes to investing in properties. I didn't have to have some perfect credit score. I didn't have to have X money in the bank, except for my down payment, which I'll talk about in a second. But again, they didn't care about my personal qualifications. That's what hard money is. They don't care about you personally. It's all about the asset. It's not loan sharking. Let me be clear. Hard money loans is not loan sharking. It is basically where they get agency financing. They have a pool of money, and they just want to get that money turning as fast as they possibly can. They have a couple large investors. A hedge fund gives them a couple $100 million, tens of millions of dollars, and they just have to move the money as fast as possible. So they are less restrictive on you personally, and they just want to get a really good deal. If you find a great deal, they'll give you a great loan on it. And I'll give you an example. By the way, you have to realize, right? I'm just going to share my own personal experiences here with hard money. I've had unbelievably great experiences. Have I had friends with bad experiences? Have I had bad experiences? Yes. And obviously you should make sure you vet the right company. I just want to give you a quick example. When I bought my first investment property, for $155, I put down 20%. So on my 20% down for $155, I paid about $30 some odd thousand. Right? So it came to, let's just call it 35 grand. So I bought my first single family home for 35,000 bucks. I had to have $35,000 saved in order to buy that property. But what I didn't have to have was perfect credit and all these other metrics that a regular conventional mortgage would have to have. What also you can do is you can do an FHA loan. Again, if you're qualified for a regular mortgage and you have the qualifications around your income and your net income, right, based on your taxes as well as your credit score, you can show proof of funds and everything. You can go an FHA. It's the best route. My second investment property was a 4-family home using an FHA loan, a $750,000 property that I paid out of pocket roughly $30,000 to $35,000 for. Again, FHA could be a really great way to do low down payment. Then you can go a conventional mortgage. Conventional mortgages, when it comes to 2 families, you're probably going to be 15% out of pocket. When you have a single family, if it's an investment property, 15% out of pocket. Conventional mortgages for anything larger, you're probably going to be putting down 25% or more out of pocket. And again, you're going to have the qualifications of income on your tax returns as well as a great credit score. Now listen, are there other programs out there, and are there going to be people who comment down below who say, well, I have this type of financing? Yes, there's of course lower down payments. And by the way, I have hard money companies that'll give you up to 100% financing. Yes, you heard me correctly, 100% financing. Now, again, just really quick, you have to realize that most people who get 100% financing are either going to pay per points up front. Points is where you say, if I want to get a $100,000 mortgage, I have to pay 1 point up front. That's $1,000. Give you another example. There was a hard money loan that my friend was getting on a fix and flip. The loan was a 12% interest loan, 12% interest, 2 points up front. So 2 points is 2% of the loan. The loan was $300,000, so they had to pay $6,000 up front just to get the mortgage because they're front loading the interest that the bank wants to make on the property. Now, I know I'm throwing a lot of details at you, but here's the other interesting piece of this. Okay, for those people who are saying, well, how do I do this zero out of pocket? The most common one that you can look at to do zero out of pocket, yes, zero, and I've done this dozens of times, is you find a partner. Partner with somebody who has the money, just not the know-how, or can't find the properties, and you can fill that void. You can find the property and say, hey, I'd like a percentage of the deal. Percentage, right? Doesn't mean you have to own 100%. What I've also done, I raise capital. So what we can do is that we find an asset that we love, and I will lock it up into contract, and I will raise the money for the down payment, or I'll put a percentage of the down payment, and I'll have other people come in. Or I'll buy it and then I'll get funding later on from somebody else who wants to come in. The point is that you can partner with people. This is what I've done to now acquire, as you can see, lots of rental properties, and it's allowed me to build wealth. Now again, several of these properties I've had to come zero out of pocket. Yes, zero. So I want you to know that it is possible. And listen, does it take time? Does it take the right partners? Does it take the right financing? Does it take the right deal? Of course. But I've also, this is where we're going to dive into more here, is the second facet of all this is the finding the deal. Finding the deal is crucial to your success in this aspect, of course. So finding the deal, how do you do that? Number one, driving for dollars. If you're driving around, you see a really beat up home, not taken care of, the grass is high, there's mail on the front step, there's a ton of stuff, outside that makes you kind of thinking there's something wrong with this house, or nobody lives there, or this has got to be vacant, or what the heck is wrong with that house? Perfect home opportunity for either flip or even to buy as a rental to rehab it, and we'll talk about burring, the burr strategy, because I'm sure a lot of you have heard that, as well as a good opportunity for you to build value, build equity in that property. Again, we'll talk about all that in a second. Number one is when you drive for dollars, now it's how do you get the phone number? Yeah, Henry, it's great. Yes, you can mail them a letter and all those kind of things. I like truepeoplesearch.com, truepeoplesearch.com, and you can just reverse look up the property and you can make a quick phone call. I also use mojosells.com, mojosells.com. If you want my referral link, you can comment down below. We'll make sure to reach out to you, or you can click on the link when it comes to my script book. Make sure to check that out because this is the calls that you need to be making in order to circle prospect for your ideal rental property. So make sure you check out my script book down below. All the information will be there for you. But you guys can reach out for the Mojo link because I'll make sure I give it to you. I use Mojo. I've been using Mojo for years. You can reverse look up any phone number that you want. And listen, I'm not saying 100% of it is accurate. Right? Disclaimer. 100% of the information is not always accurate. However, guess what? You're going to get lucky most of the time, right? 70, 80%, you're going to get a correct phone number. And again, you just need to know what to say, which is why you need the script book, which is again, is down below in the description. And listen, guys, it's free. I'm not here to sell you anything. It's just down below in the description. So Mojo Sells, True People Search. Another one is Zillow and your MLS. Now, just realize this. Properties that have been on Zillow, either for sale by owner or on the market, ideally are not going to be the best deals, but they are deals nonetheless, right? It's something that you can run numbers on, which we're going to talk about exactly how to do that momentarily. But again, when you look at these deals, you're not going to want to cross off too much off your list, especially if you've got your criteria super specific and that something comes up on the market. You're going to want to take a look at it, right? Don't just exit off. Oh, it's listed. I don't care. I bought a fantastic deal, which I'm going to tell you about as an example where you can make fantastic money with a property that's listed on the market. Yes, and by the way, it was recent. Within the last 6 to 12 months. And yes, it was on the market. It was listed. And I got a great deal on it. Another option that you guys can look into is Facebook. Facebook groups. Facebook groups are so powerful. It's one thing I've been talking about in my coaching program for over a year now with my students is dive into Facebook groups. You can find fantastic deals in a lot of Facebook groups all over the country. You just need to know exactly what to look for. So if you want to take full advantage of my coaching program, make sure you click the link in the description down below or in the pinned comments section. We're going to give you a free coaching session. Yes, free coaching session with me. Yes, me. You got to take advantage of it right away and make sure we take advantage of that. Another key thing that you can be looking for right now in this market, right now, old expired, circle prospecting, all this stuff can actually be paid for in Mojo. Yes, in these crazy markets like 2022, where it's really hard to find inventory, yes, old expireds and circle prospecting around neighborhoods and locations that you want a property in is crucial. I've been doing this for years now, and it's helped me buy a lot of rental property. Guys, listen, don't make this complicated. Take a full advantage of the couple things I just told you, because by the way, every single one of those I take full advantage of and my team takes full advantage of. Last but not least, let's talk about taking some massive action, The first thing that I want to drive home is that if you're not touring property, let me say that again. If you want to buy a property in the next 90 days and you're not walking 1, 2, 3 properties per week, if you are not walking 1, 2, 3 properties per week every single week, you are not going to fulfill your goal, right? You're just not going to get the results that you want. You need to be walking 1 to 3 properties every single week. I make it a priority to walk as much property as possible. That is within my criteria, because I need to continuously walk property and analyze numbers, which is what we're about to talk about, because that's another huge piece of this. Because if you're not walking property, you're not going to be able to pay attention to what to look for. Things like, the condition of a property, walking with a contractor. What's fascinating? I now analyze properties through his eyes. Where any property that I walk through, I can walk that property and know exactly what number he's going to tell me as an estimated cost to rehab the property exactly the way I'd want to. That's how many times I've walked properties, thousands of properties. I've analyzed numbers on thousands of properties. So this now allows me to walk through a property like a contractor. I know what to look for. But if you're not walking property, especially with a contractor, try to do it 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 times. If you have a friend who's a contractor, great. If you don't have a friend who's a contractor, understood, call up a contractor, say, hey, I'm a new realtor. I'm in the business looking to find my first investment property. If you're going to a home to do an estimate, I'd love to walk through a property with you just to kind of understand. I'll pretend I'm your assistant. And I'm not kidding, I've done this. Walk through a property, pretend to be his assistant, and ask him a million questions. They appreciate it. Say, hey, listen, I work with a lot of clients who are looking for investment properties. I'd love to introduce you. You don't think they're going to want to help you out? Listen, ask for that support. It's okay. So again, you're going to walk a bunch of property. Number 2, make sure while you're walking property, I even say sometimes even before you walk the property, you want to get your finances situated. You want to know exactly how you're going to finance the property you're going to buy. Make sure you find out exactly how you're going to finance the property, because I'm telling you right now, the last thing you're going to want to have happen is find a home run deal because you're looking and you know all the right places to look. You know exactly what to say because you downloaded my script book, but check the link down below. But what I want you to know is the last thing you want to do, because I've done this in my career, where I found a fantastic property and then I couldn't buy it. Now, here's the thing. I didn't have the mentality that I do today, where now if I find any type of great deal, no matter if I have the money in the bank or, if that ever happened, versus, me finding a great deal and the timing hypothetically didn't work out, I'd still find a way to buy it. Now, I want you to know, again, without walking thousands of properties, having the partners that I do in my life and having the financing set up at all times, without having that, what would have to happen is you would end up having to find that deal, bring that to an investor that you have as a client, and then have them flip the property. Now, listen, you might be able to hopefully discuss with your investment partner, the investment client, to see maybe, hey, can we flip this together? Hey, can I get a percentage? Hey, can you walk me through this process? You know how much money I've made for investors before I got into the game? A lot. Millions and millions and millions of dollars I made for investors before I ever bought my first investment property. Because guess what? I got front row education to investing in real estate for free. Well, actually, I won't even say for free. I was paid. That's the beautiful part. Because I made them millions. I made hundreds of thousands. I made nearly $1 million from a select few investor clients, because I helped them make a lot of money. They made millions. I made nearly $1 million, which is awesome. And guess what? I got a front row seat in an education. I got paid to have an education. Wouldn't you love that? If you can find a really powerful investment client, the same thing can happen for you. And again, yes, I brought hundreds of deals to other people before I ever bought my first. So I knew that when I bought my first property, I'm telling you, the coolest part about my first property was that I bought it. It was such a good deal that I was able to literally sell it from the day I closed to the day I sold it was 30 days. And I made $35,000. So I took my 35, turned it into 70, right? I made another 35K in profit, took that 35K and I put that down on my FHA 4-family property. That 35 grand is now, again, I'm selling that property now for a $200,000 profit. Now, what is insane is that literally one property with 35 grand turned into $200,000 within about 24 months. 24 months, 35 grand to $200,000. Now I can keep now I'm at a 1031, that money moving into a bigger deal, into a bigger deal, into a bigger deal. All of a sudden, within a 5 or 10 year period of time, 35 grand can turn into millions of dollars. Listen, real estate's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to get wealthy or rich overnight in real estate, but you can get rich for sure. Let's talk about numbers. Let's talk about writing about numbers. This piece of it, you're going to want to watch over and over and over and over and over again. Let's talk about it quickly. Let me move all my properties out of the way and the money that we collected in rent. I want you to know this when you're running numbers on a property. Let's just take an average single family home. We can take two examples. Average single family home, let's say that single family home brings in $2,000 per month. That's $24,000 per year, okay? I'm writing it down on my handy dandy notepad, okay, right in front of you. So $24,000 a year. I'm in New Jersey, so we have absurdly high real estate taxes. So let's just say the real estate taxes were $6,000, which, by the way, super cheap, okay, for New Jersey, by the way. $6,000 in taxes. Let's say insurance was, let's say $1,500 for quick, easy math. Let's say the utilities, the tenant's going to pay all the utilities because it's a single family home. And then on top of that, the only things you're going to have to worry about is property management, capital expenditures, and then vacancy. Property management, you can put 5-ish% in your calculations. CapEx, for a single family home, I'd put 10%. Percentages based off of the gross rent. Property management, 5% of the 24 grand, which comes to $1,200, right? $1,200. The capital expenditures, that would be 10% a single family home, so that's $2,400. And then vacancy rate, you'd probably want to do for a single family home, 10%. For multifamily, you could probably do 5%. So that'd be another $2,400. So really quick math off the top of my head, I'm trying to do this really fast. It's another $6,000. Yes, my dad was a math teacher, and I can do this pretty quickly. So that comes to $13,500 in total expenditures. That means my net profit, my NOI, net operating income, comes to $10,500. It's my N-O and the I. That means I'll make $10,500 in profit. Now, here's the thing, before debt payments. Right? So that means if I have a debt payment, which means like hypothetically, let's say that my mortgage payment on this property is $833 per month, really quick math, because that's 10 grand a year. That means I'm going to cash flow $500 a year, right? I mean, that's not a lot of money, right? I want you to understand what most people will look at when it comes to single family homes is that their payments, they're probably going to be able to cash flow somewhere around $500 to $1,000. Now, what I want to show you something is, let's take an example of a property that I have. This is a 4-family property you can buy as the first property you want to buy. So for a 4-family, let's say that this property brings in, I'll give you an exact example of a home run deal that I bought. This was actually listed for $699. I got it under contract for $655. So it was listed for $699, again, a 4-unit property. So again, that comes to about $180,000, $175,000 a unit, somewhere in that ballpark. What happens here is this property was bringing in around $5,500 per month when I bought it. $5,500 a month means it was bringing in $66,000 per year. Okay, so that means it brings in $16,000, $17,000 a unit, roughly, right now. Here's the cool part. The only thing I pay for is common gas. That's it. That's all I pay for. Everybody pays their own water. Everyone pays their own electric. Okay, so I just pay for the common gas, which only comes to like maybe $300 to $400 a quarter. So let's just round up to say $500, so that's an extra $2,000 per year in expenditures when it comes to my gas. Then on top of that, you're going to have CapEx, capital expenditures, which again is fixing up the building over time. You're going to have things you're going to have to do. With CapEx, you're going to want to do for this building, I would want to do probably 5%. Vacancy rate, you're going to do 5%, and property management, I manage the property myself. So $20,000 in expenditures means that it was bringing in $46,000 per year in net operating income. I bought this with a hard money loan. I was out of pocket 15% on this property on $655, and the cool part about being a broker was that I paid myself the 2% commission, baby, right? Paid myself nearly, $13,000? So anyways, I paid myself 13 grand, and my out-of-pocket was 15% on 650, so really quick, it was about 90, almost 100 grand, but I got 10, let's just say 10 back, so I got 90,000 out of pocket. 90K out of pocket, I did a hard money loan. That hard money loan was for the remaining balance, which was 500 and call it 550, 560, right, whatever that comes to. The interest was 9%, and I wrapped in 100% of my renovation costs. This is where the magic happens, baby. So I renovated the property on the bank's money, okay? So I put about 70, 80,000 bucks into it in renovation costs, 100% by the bank. The bank financed 100% of those renovations, okay? The bank spent the 70 to 80 grand, I forget which one it was, let's just say it was 80. That 80 grand. So again, I'm only out of pocket 90 grand. In total, since I owed about 640 on it. Then I refinanced the property, okay? Because the property went up in value, and I was able to bring up the income on the property, where now this property, the property income went up to about 80,000. 80 grand minus the same expenditures, by the way. It cost me the same amount, right? So minus 20 grand. Now it brings in $60,000 a year. It only cost me right now, I refinanced and I put an interest-only loan on it, interest only for 5 years. My payment right now is $3,800. $3,800. It brings, which comes out to, let's just round out to 4 grand, which is 48,000. This property brings in roughly $12,000 per month right now. Okay, this is where it gets really cool. Brings in, $12,000 a year. Brings in $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month in profit right now. Okay, it's actually a little bit more. I think it's like $1,500. So it comes to about $1,500, so it's about 18 grand a year. It brings me in $1,500 a month in cash flow right now. The amazing part is that I got one unit that's not even paying me, but they're about to be evicted. And that unit is then going to rent for $2,400 a month. Let's say $2,000. Worst case scenario, and this market's unbelievable for tenants right now, and income for properties. So point being is that let's just say that 18 is now going to go up $24,000 a year, because I'm going to rent this property for at least, it's going to be probably $2,400. Anyways, it's going to take my income, my cash flow up $24,000, which means that my income on this property now goes to $42,000 a year. What I didn't tell you was that on my refinance, I did a cash out refinance, and I was able to pull $40,000 out of the property, out of my 90 that I put down, like we talked about. That means I only have $50,000 in the property. So on the $12,000, think about how crazy this is. This is mind-blowing stuff. My $12,000 that I make right now means that I'm making a almost 25% return on my money, 25% cash on cash returns. I think it's like 24, right? 24% cash on cash returns right now. And which means that based on the money I've invested, I'm making 24% a year on my money. Once I re-rent that unit out for the extra $2,000 a month, now I'm going to be making $42,000 a year. Call it 40 on a $50,000 investment. I'm going to make $40,000 a year in cash flow after my payments, after all payments. I'm going to be making $40,000 a year on a $50,000 investment for the rest of my life. So $40,000, that is a 80% cash on cash return. 80%. That's unbelievable. And it's only going to go up every single year. Every single year now these tenants are going to be paying an extra X percent over their rental payments. That means every year, let's say that next year, all 4 tenants go up $100. Just $100. There's no rent control in this area. So if all tenants go up $400, guess what? $400 means nearly $5,000 a year. That means I go from an 80% to now a 90% cash on cash. The next year it'll be another $5,000. Now I'm up to 100% cash on cash returns in 3 years, baby. 3 years. 100% cash on cash. How would you like to have an investment that does that for you? That's what real estate can do for you. Okay, yes, and by the way, I did have to have the 90 myself. Here's the amazing part. Could I have found a partner who was willing to give me the 90 or 100 grand to be my partner, be a 50-50 partner in it, and say, hey, you get 80% of the profits and I'll manage it for 20%. Could you do that? Could you set that up? Absolutely. Stop coming up with reasons why it can't work. Because this is a perfect example of a burr in motion. That is a perfect example, live example. I own this property, a 4-family property that does exactly this. Okay? And by the way, you know what's the amazing part? It was listed on the market. I paid $655 for it. And within 5 months, 5 months, it appraised for $965 grand. $965 grand, which means my equity went up, the property went up $300,000. Based on my refi, again, I have like $300,000 in equity right now in the property. Unbelievable. On my $90,000 investment, which is now only 50 grand. And here's I'm not even including the fact that I have all the equity that I've created on the 50 grand. The 50 grand is really turned into now $300,000 in equity and will be $40,000 a year in profits, cash on cash returns. Make it simple. And what I'll do for you is this. I want you to know that if you have a great deal, know this. At the very beginning, it is okay to just bring deals to an investor and learn through somebody else. However, I want this moment to be the defining moment in your life where you said enough is enough and I'm going to do this for myself. Go out and find the right partners. Go out and find the right hard money company if you need a hard money company. If you got the finances, just bite the bullet and buy your first property. Because I'm telling you, it's like tattoos. What I keep hearing is that tattoos are addictive. Buying real estate is addictive. It's addictive. Everybody wants to go after it. You're going to want to buy your next one and your next one and your next one and your next one. You just got to get over the first one. However, if you do not continuously run numbers, if you do not continuously walk property and you just start learning and walking property and running numbers and walk property and run numbers, if you don't practice, I'm telling you, you're never going to even get to your very first key. Do you understand that? Get to your first key before you can get to 50 or 500 or thousands of keys. Get to your first key. That's it. Because I'm telling you, when you start looking into what passive income can do for your life, I want you to understand, like before I even start my month, to have tens of thousands of dollars in cash flow is unbelievable, guys. It's unbelievable. And by the way, my first property was a single family house. And it can be, it's okay to start there. Listen, I definitely would advise to start as big as you can, but also don't bite off more than you can chew. Like, listen, we just closed on a 10-family property. Unbelievable deal. And I want you to know that the steps to getting there, right? I mean, we look at much bigger deals than a 10-family, but also just know, like, you don't have to start with 100 units. And I have a partner on my 10-family, and it's okay to have a partner. Because the coolest part is that between me and him, we're both going to walk away with, a great profit over a quick period of time here. But just know at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be like, 500 units to start or 50 units to start. Listen, you can start with a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 unit property. Yes, you want to start as big as you can because the more doors, the more cash flow is possible, baby. And this is what we're all looking for, is the cash flow. Because you're not going to cash flow a lot of money on a single family. I mean, like, there's some people come to me and they're like, well, listen, I only cash flow $500 a month. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that, listen, one water heater blows up, you're going to have, it's a $1,200 fix, $1,000 fix. But in a 4-unit where you can cash flow again, I'm going to be cash flowing almost $4,000 a month, baby. $4,000 a month, you know what that means? That covers car payments. That can cover a mortgage for you. This is a little over 10 grand, right? This is just from the people who pay cash every month. But I want you to understand, like, guys, what would an extra $4,000 a month do for you? What would that do? An extra 50 grand a year? What would that do for your life? What would that do? Ask yourself, because all you got to do is start with your very first key. I hope this video helped. And by the way, if you have questions, comment down below. I want to be able to answer them for you. And if you have specific things, I will make a video specifically on those questions. And I will make another video talking about running numbers and all this kind of stuff. I promise you that video is going to come out soon. But again, like I said, rewatch this video over and over and over again and become familiar with running numbers and analyzing deals, because it will absolutely change your life. That's about it, guys. Class is now finito. You guys can go do your thing. I love you so much, and I'll talk to you later.